Hello guys. So recently I had a huge debate on YouTube with a North Chinese guy who looks down on South Chinese and Southeast Asians, claiming that they are a bunch of low-class barbarians. So is that really the case? Who's the real barbarian? Today I'm going to make a dedicated video as a response to this racist person. As usual, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the content that I make. Without further ado, let's begin. Right now on the screen you see a bus, and you may wonder what's going on. Well, this is the #1 bus line of Beijing, and it runs across the city horizontally from Laoshan in the west to Sihui in the east. This photo was taken at the Laoshan bus station, and this station was built beside the tomb of Prince Liu Dan, who was the third son of Emperor Wu Di of the Han Dynasty, and he committed suicide in the year 80 BC, which was the year of the ox, along with 20 of his concubines, due to a failed attempt at usurping the throne. Yet you don't see his tomb on this photo. That's because after 2000 years of weathering, his tomb had completely decayed, leaving nothing but a bunch of wooden ashes. Here's the thing. Unlike many other civilized peoples across the world, the ancient Sinitic people in North China had never mastered the technique of construction using brick and stone, and the majority of their buildings were made out of wood or rammed earth, which is why very few of them had survived to the test of time. Of course, that's not to say there's no Han-era relic left in Beijing. There are two relics left actually. The first one is Mr. Qin's pillar or stele, built in the year 105 AD in the Eastern Han period. It was once part of Mr. Qin's tomb, and Mr. Qin was a civil officer of Youzhou, so Youzhou was the ancient name of Beijing. However, all that's left of his tomb is this stone stele. Everything else had perished with time. And the second relic is this weird-looking stone figurine. Before I tell you guys what this figurine is depicting, I just want you to take 10 seconds to guess what it actually is. Okay, so have you figured out what it is? This is a stone figurine about a soldier or guardsman holding a shield. But you'd have to have some very good imagination to figure out what it is, because it's very hard to make sense out of its shape, due to the fact that the carving technique the Sinitic people had at that time was very primitive. And compare this to Roman stone carvings. For instance, here's the bust of Julius Caesar, and here's another bust of an old man. You can see that Roman craftsmanship was way better than the ancient Sinitic people. And not to mention that the Roman carvings were older than the Han one, since the Han one dates to the Eastern Han or the later Han, which spans from 25 to 220 AD. And in terms of city building, the Romans were also far more advanced. Just take a look at this Roman-era bridge from the city of Merida in Spain, or this other Roman bridge from the city of Cordoba, or still, this Roman aqueduct from southern France, and compare them with the rammed earth walls of Youzhou, which no longer exist because they had all succumbed to weathering, but they used to be at the place where this arch currently stands. Or the rammed earth walls of Dadu or Khanbalik. So it was the capital of the Mongol Yuan dynasty. which dates to the 13th century, so far later than the Roman bridges and aqueducts. But today, only a small slope remains, as you can see on the left side of this photo. And before you Han nationalists start to blame the Mongols or blame Kublai Khan, I just want you guys to know that the city of Dadu was designed by a North Chinese engineer named Liu Bingzhong, and he built the city using existing Chinese techniques. Even at that time, there were people complaining that during the monsoon season in summer, the rammed earth walls of Dadu would often crumble due to rainfall. And to prevent that from happening, the Yuan soldiers stationed on the walls would often cover the walls with leaves and plants, earning Dadu the nickname Grass City. So how about Southeast Asia, you may ask? Why haven't you talked about Southeast Asian architecture? Well, I haven't forgot about them. First, let's look at the Maison temples of Vietnam, built around the 4th century by the Lam Ap Kingdom, which was the predecessor of the Jampa Kingdom. Granted, they date to a slightly later time than the Han. They are nonetheless nearly 2,000 years old, yet they are still standing to this day. That's because they were made out of brick and stone. So even the ancient Southeast Asians knew how to make brick and stone structures. And not to mention that the Maison temples were bombarded by the Americans during the Vietnam War, and miraculously these temples survived the heavy bombard. Another example would be the Borobudur Temple of Indonesia, built in the 8th century by the Salendra dynasty of Java. A very exquisite stone and brick structure with numerous small stupas on it, and it still stands to this day. And last but not least, let's not forget the famous Angkor Wat of Cambodia, built in the 12th century by the Khmer Empire. Again, it's a very majestic stone structure. So who's the real barbarian? I guess after seeing all these pictures, you should have an answer. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe.